Language development is the gateway to everything. Language is what sets us apart from animals.
Children who don't have spoken language are somewhat lost.
I don't even think that we're aware of how many children are out there that are confused by language. If we are able to provide a system where language begins to make sense to them, we have opened up a world of not only learning, but a way to give these kids a life.
My wife and I, Val, we were gifted with two beautiful boys.
They were great little boys, you know, and one was darker haired and Connor with his blonde hair and blue eyes.
It's like any parent cannot express just the wonder of it all.
He's back up again, he's back up again. Woo!
There was, I suppose, a final battery of testing done, and the woman said to me, look, your children are very severely disabled. And she said that there really isn't any hope, and one day you're going to have to drop them to an institution and drive away.
It was like suddenly your whole world changed in a moment, and it was never the same again.
It's like you're losing them, and they retreat into this world of theirs, which is not where I as a parent can be. They can't communicate their needs, so they become extremely frustrated. Then the sheer frustration just explodes in the child. And the fascinating thing is that while the child is still exploding, you still have a chance.
Enda came to me. He and his wife Val moved into this area with their two sons, Connor and Owen. He was struggling for all kinds of ideas about how to educate his boys, and came really not so much for a diagnosis or recommendations of specific schools, as many parents do, but came to really just brainstorm about their learning.
My early responses were to find a solution. But the strange thing about these developmental disorders is that there was always an aura that it couldn't be solved.
So if there was going to be anything like the progress that Enda and Val were hoping for the boys, they were going to have to acquire some sort of language in order to be able to connect with the world around them.
Late one afternoon, the phone rings, and I hear this wonderful Irish brogue, which you don't hear much in Mississippi. Enda told me about his children and about their search for help. He kept asking, Ann, what works? How do you get to the auditory function? How do you get to the speech that's intelligible? And I could literally feel him listening to me over the telephone.
There's just things that these children were doing which were inconsistent with what the science was suggesting.
Looking to the child to understand is everything. Where else do you start?
What's the name of the movie that Iago's in?
Iago, Aladdin.
He's in Aladdin.
So Enda used to work very, very closely with the boys, observing, watching, see what worked. And we could see that videos were a definite in.
A lot of their early language was acquired from movies.
Yeah.
A child that couldn't ask for a cookie could trot out a substantial statement out of Sinbad or that, you know.
That's right.
The first thing I thought when I sat down to watch and to work with the boys with this is, why hadn't I thought of this?
Okay, on, so let's watch the movie.
He's just sitting with these boys and they're watching portions of these wonderful movies that we're all familiar with.
So Owen, what happened there?
And he's freeze-framing and he's giving them some choices about what they're seeing and what's happening and how to label it.
There you go, Connor. Do you want to try and see if you can answer that question for me? Does he feel frightened?
The next thing that you see is the ability of the kids to understand the connection of text to a concept or a word. Teaching a kid the understanding of these symbols mean this.
9 answers. That's right, that's happy. Good boy.
It was a wonderful moment when I watched him go, oh, that's what this is.
So, Connor, what time is it?
Connor was able to create a prototype for himself by looking at many different Google images.
He taught Connor how to use Google, how to bring up from 5 to 15 pictures of what those symbols meant. They could use it all the time to check, does the screen that I'm looking at and the Google images that I'm looking at match?
And that's what language is about, is forming those abstract concepts. And that's the real challenge in teaching children language.
So to sit down and watch and to sit with Connor, who is the more severe of the two boys, and see him dialogue with him and know that Connor understood what Enda was asking him. He understood how to answer. He understood that Enda understood the answer.
With Connor, when I started working with him only 3 years ago, he was so detached from the world that he couldn't look at anyone. He couldn't even look at his father. Suddenly I had a child here that was playing with Dad. These are the events that for all of us, you just take for granted. But when you have a special needs child, parents may never see that. And I cannot express to you how grateful I am to have had that returned to me.
All I kept thinking of was all the hundreds and thousands of kids out there that have any language disorder and the benefit.
I remember thinking that I would like to get Enda Dodd down to Mississippi to talk to my staff. And I don't think that about a lot of parents. But it was like, here's a man who has moved into an understanding of the whole picture.
Teddy, put your strips on. Again. Good job.
Magnolia is a specialized school for children with low language levels. Half of our population are children who have hearing loss.
Oh, kiss me. Quick. Again. Together. Again.
Wow.
And the other half are children with various neurological dysfunction. And our job is to give them spoken language.
When you look at Wendy, how do you know she's happy?
Because she's not Wendy, she's Jane.
Oh, you know that's right. That is Jane. That's Wendy's daughter.
She has septo-optic dysplasia, which means that the corpus callosum that separates the lobes of the brain is completely missing.
And can you explain again, how do we know that she's happy when you look at her?
Because her eyes wide open and her teeth showing with her mouth wide open.
Good riddance.
Normally, when she first starts a project or something, she's kind of reserved and laid back, but I mean, she got in there, was very interactive with it.
Is the fire truck in the sky?
No.
No. It is not in the sky.
It's
Where
red.
is the fire truck?
Where is it?
Okay.
I believe that when this gets in the hands of a very knowledgeable teacher, that they're going to be innovative with it and they're going to think of new things to teach with it that Enda and I have never even dreamed of.
Fire truck is in the street.
Look.
Is it
in the street?
Yes.
Yes.
Good
Very
job.
good, Gay.
Okay, that was very good.
Good job. Good job.
I think if parents had this at home, once they understood the program, I think they would benefit for this. And it is so important that that parent become the teacher at home.
It was really different. I'm pleased with the concept of the Disney movies because children, that's just what they love. Learning on the computer and learning with the Disney movie, I never would have thought I would have ever been able to see that. But to be able to do that, I think that's phenomenal.
So once you have a system that can help them use language through the visual mode, we're going to increase the success of all these kids.
We're always looking for new ways to unlock them, so to speak, because they are such little mysteries.
We need discovery of new ideas. And the thing I'm enthused about is that this is discovery of a new idea, and we need more new ideas.
I feel an enormous responsibility to get this message out, to engage the people that'll help me bring this forward so that these children can have this life.